My name is Captain Sarah Jackson. I don't know if anyone will ever receive this transmission, but I have to try and warn others, right? Is it not my duty to warn? Could I even begin to explain what horrors await below? Oh, but the voices are indeed so beautiful. I know they would understand. No, I must warn them. This is my log. Let this be a warning to others. It was all wrong. The planet we were supposed to survey was entirely different than the one the data from the probes gave us. The planet was dead, and it looked to have been dead for unknown eons. I'm the only one left from my team. The others are dead, feasted on by that thing. It all started as I stepped off the shuttle. I felt a wave of excitement mixed with fear. This was the first time a human had ever set foot on this planet, and the possibilities for discovery were endless. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The planet's surface was desolate and barren, with no signs of life. The air was thin and hard to breathe, and the temperature was freezing. But it was the silence that was the most unnerving. The planet we were supposed to land on was reported to be tropical, not dead. Not even the sound of wind or insects could be heard. My team and I began to explore, taking samples and recording data. We had landed near a large mountain range, and I was eager to climb to the top to get a better view of the planet's terrain. As I and another member named Ben climbed, we noticed strange markings etched into the rock. They were unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and they seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. They were like hieroglyphics, but were done crudely and messy. As Ben and I approached the summit, we saw something that made the blood in our bodies run cold. A large structure was visible in the distance, towering over the landscape. It was strange and odd. It had twisted, organic shapes that seemed to writhe and pulsate. We knew immediately that it was not natural, and I felt a sense of dread wash over me. The shapes seemed to form an optical illusion. 1 second it appeared to have a discernible shape, but then within seconds it moved like the arms of a squid and changed shapes. However, when we looked indirectly at it from the corner of our eyes, it seemed to have a solid, well-defined shape. It was unexplainable. Ben called out to the team, but there was no response. The silence was deafening. We started to make our way back down towards the camp, but the markings on the rock seemed to glow brighter and brighter. Suddenly, a blinding light filled my vision, and I felt myself being lifted off the ground. When I came to, I was in a different place entirely. It was a dark, damp room, and the air was thick with a foul smell. I vomited twice, and every nerve in my body felt fear. It was unlike anything I had felt in my life. A fear so deep it seemed as if the cells in my body were cowering. I tried to move, but found myself struggling to gain control over my own body. Panic set in as I struggled to free myself, but it was no use. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw something move in the shadows. It was a creature that I escapes explanation. It was humanoid in shape, but its skin was black, slick and oily, and its eyes glowed a sickly white. I tried to scream, but my throat was dry and scratchy. The creature approached me slowly, its movements almost graceful. This was a beast that just a few seconds ago resembled an apex predator. However, it then spoke. It spoke in a language that I couldn't understand, but its tone was beautiful. Its voice was so peaceful and beautiful that it took the fear out of my body. It seemed to be studying me, almost as if it were deciding what to do with me. I tried to reason with myself. I knew this thing was still dangerous. Perhaps the voice was a way to ensnare its victims. Then, for the first time, I saw Ben. He was just a few feet away, and somehow this is the first time I saw him. He also seemed to have been eased by the soothing, gentle voice of this grotesque thing. I closed my eyes to try and stay alert and regain my senses from the serenity-like trance I found myself in. That's when I heard the chewing. When I opened my eyes, it was ripping and gnawing the flesh off of Ben. He stood unmoving and seeming unfazed as he was being torn apart by this being. The fear was back. There was no more soothing voice or sense of serenity. All I felt was all-encompassing dread. Hours passed, and I was left alone in the dark. All that was left of Ben was his feet, which remained where he last stood, unmoved. I was starting to lose hope when I heard footsteps approaching. The door creaked open, and another creature entered the room. This one looked almost angelic, humanoid, but as if there was never any blemish or mark ever laid upon its skin. It spoke to the first creature, which followed behind it in that pacifying, peaceful language that I still couldn't understand. But it was clear that they were discussing my fate. As the two creatures approached me, I braced myself for the worst. I told myself that I would die fighting. I would not allow myself to be eaten alive like Ben. But just as they reached me, there was a blinding flash of light, and I felt myself being lifted off the ground again. When I came to, I was back on the mountain alone. I stumbled back to the shuttle, my mind reeling. I had no idea what had just happened, but I knew that I had to warn the others. There was a colony ship full of civilian families on their way here. As I approached the shuttle, I saw that the rest of my team was already there waiting for me. But something was wrong. Their faces were twisted and wrong. They looked almost inhuman. I tried to ask them what was wrong, but they couldn't seem to speak. It was then that I saw it. The dreaded black oily-skinned creature was approaching from the distance, its white glowing eyes fixed on the shuttle. I tried to scramble aboard the shuttle, but it was too late. The creature was upon them, its oily skin and twisted form striking terror into my heart. I tried to fight back, but it was no use. The creatures were too strong, too fast, and too alien. In the end, I was the only one left standing. The creatures had taken the rest of my team, leaving me alone on the desolate planet. I knew that I had to leave, that I had to warn the rest of humanity about the dangers of this planet. But I also knew that I would never forget what I had seen, what I had experienced. I took the lander and jettisoned off the planet. Now I am in orbit, with limited supplies and the emergency beacon lit. I had hoped to be rescued and warn the others, but it has been 3 days since I left the planet. I'd attached a warning to my emergency beacon just in case I don't make it. But now I can start to hear it again. The soothing voice called me back down. Maybe I was too quick to judge. They are singing to me in such a peaceful, sweet tone. Do I really want to die up in orbit alone? These things love me. Why would I deny myself such a depressing death when I could be surrounded by the beings that love me more than my own family? Why else should I deny other humans this beautiful and calming death? Would it not be jealous and wrong to hide such a thing? I can hear the singing in my head. They know me better than anything else, maybe better than I know myself. I will come back down. Something so beautiful cannot wish to harm me. It is unthinkable. I will change this silly emergency beacon. There is no emergency after all. Attention command, this Captain Sarah Jackson. My team and I have landed and secured a landing zone. The planet is perfect. A near copy of Earth. Send on the colony ships.